Gordon. We begin with the family now suing the city of Portland and a police officer. It comes after the officer shot a man they thought might have been involved in an armed robbery, but in fact had nothing to do with it. Alma McCarty spoke to one of the attorneys about their fight for justice. Alma.
Well, Tim, the family decided to sue after a grand jury declined to indict the officer. The details of this case can be very difficult to hear. Not only does the suit allege the use of excessive force by a PPB officer, it claims the officers did not provide first aid to the victim for 25 minutes after he was shot with an AR-15.
Just after midnight, November 19th, 2022, Portland police were tracking down a suspect after an attempted armed robbery in the parking lot of Super Deluxe.
In that very first call, that person identified the perpetrators as definitely white, 3 to 4 guys in a car, not much of a description of the vehicle.
Despite this information, a lawsuit alleges officers went after a car driven by 30-year-old Immanuel Clark-Johnson, known to his family as Manny Clark. Clark and a few others were parked off Southeast Steel Road, and as evidence would later confirm, they were unconnected to this robbery call.
You can imagine just stopping to have a cigarette, wondering how the rest of your night might go, and suddenly bright lights turn on all around you. You're scared, you don't know what's going on, and you start running.
Juan Chavez, director of the Civil Rights Project at the Oregon Justice Resource Center, says although Clark was unarmed, a PPB officer shot him in the back with an AR-15. The officer told the grand jury later Clark had his hand in his pocket and he believed Clark was going for a gun and heading for cover to possibly start shooting.
It is hard to listen to the 911 callers who were adjacent to this parking lot, who heard Manny crying and shouting for somebody to help him.
Even though there was an ambulance nearby, the lawsuit alleges paramedics weren't allowed to help for nearly half an hour.
He stood a chance to survive, but he wasn't given that opportunity. He was just left there to bleed out.
Clark died days later at the hospital.
It's never easy for any family, and it has been especially not easy, I think, for this family.
More than a year after his death, and more than 6 months after a grand jury found the use of force not criminal under Oregon law, Clark's family is suing the city and the officer.
And at the end of the day, it's important to have a jury weigh in on how it is that this family can be compensated and whether or not the city needs to be held accountable for it.
We reached out to both the police bureau and to the city. A PPB spokesperson told us they don't comment on pending litigation. We're still waiting to hear back from the city. Tim?
That is a case to follow. Thanks, Alma.